That is so fetch.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, my name is Kaiya. Today I am going to be reviewing Opus Eponymous, which is the debut record by Swedish heavy metal rock outfit Ghost. This record was released October 18th, 2010 via Rise Above Records. The album consists of 9 songs, 2 of which are instrumental with a runtime of 34 minutes and 35 seconds. This record mostly features lead singer Tobias Forge, who also goes by his stage name Papa Emeritus, doing most everything on this record, including vocals, guitar work, some bass work, and almost all the lyrics and songwriting. Tobias also had a few guest musicians helping him with parts of this debut record, but it mostly consisted with nameless ghoul Gustav Lindström doing bass work for most of the album, minus tracks 6 and 9, which Tobias actually did, and Ludwig Kenberg completing miscellaneous drum parts. The album art was created by an artist who goes by the name of Basilevs 254, and it is said that his inspiration for this piece of artwork was from the 1979 miniseries Salem's Lot, which is based on Stephen King's novel of the same name. And for those that are not familiar with my channel, I am a huge Stephen King fan. I have been collecting Stephen King books for over the past year, 2 years, is when I really decided that I was going to go all into collecting his novels. I have a ton of them back here. If you're not familiar with the actual plot of Salem's Lot, it's basically about a bunch of vampires that start moving in to this New England town, and the folks of the town are trying to figure out what to do about it. I also want to say that the book is kind of interesting because each chapter is from a different perspective of somebody else in the town. Although I haven't completely finished it, I do recommend that you read it. Anyway, let's get into the actual music of this record because that is ultimately the most important part of this video. The album opens up with the first instrumental track titled Deus Culpa. I love the intro of this record. For me, it really makes me envision a Catholic church. I also love that the instrumental starts out all beautiful and then takes this kind of turn halfway through it. The notes get a little flatter and they start kind of blending together. It's almost like an apple that's souring, if that makes sense. The instrumental immediately goes into the first real track of this record, which is called Con Clavi Con Dio, which starts off with this very forward bass riff. This track also features more organ sounds and jammy, catchy guitar riffs. And throughout this track and the single Ritual, you get the best of what Tobias has to offer, which is vocal melodies and harmonies of a variety of different styles. He also plays around with a lot of different characters vocally, and you get this interesting vibe of what some people call Scooby-Doo metal.
Ah, boy. Ooh, uh-oh.
Now, Scooby-Doo metal was a term that was very new to me. I heard it the first time that I listened to Ghost, which was last October, last Halloween, and I listened to more current singles from Ghost, and it was kind of confusing. The best way I can describe Scooby-Doo metal is it's like experiencing the beginning of summer vacation and the night of Halloween at the same time. It's honestly a very refreshing sound, and I really haven't heard anything like it before. Continuing with the song Ritual, which is actually a song I just reacted to, and I'll link it in this video. It's by far one of my favorite tracks off of this record. I found myself singing along to it after I filmed that video and I listened to this record. I was singing along to it. It's catchy. I also think it's interesting that the song is labeled as one of the 50 most evil songs ever, yet instrumentally it's the complete opposite. It's radio friendly heavy metal pop music. Track 4, Elizabeth, is about none other than Elizabeth Bathory. There's a lot of songs about that girl in metal. She was a freak, let's just say that. I think this song is personally okay. It's not my favorite, but it's also not the worst song on here. I found myself singing along to the chorus part where he pronounces Elizabeth as Elizabeth, which I know is both, yes, a correct way to say that, but the way he pronounced it kind of irked me because I guess I'm just so used to saying Elizabeth and I'm super American in my accent, so I just wanted to hear Elizabeth. And every time he said Elizabeth, I was like a little thrown off. It's super personal, but I also think that it's an interesting way to do it. It's an interesting way to sing it. Track 5, Stand By Him, starts out very ZZ Top-esque in the beginning. You can definitely hear the King Diamond influence in this track as well, although obviously Tobias's voice is not as high as King Diamond. I love the chorus of this song, and I think it's extremely catchy. It's the night of the witch. It's the night of the witch tonight. Like Scooby-Doo metal. Halloween in the summertime. That's the vibe. Also, I love the instrumental outro for this song. There's just super, super catchy guitar riffs at the end of this, and there's lovely harmonies layered over it, and it's a jam. Now for track 6, Satan's Prayer, I do love the groove and forward bass sound in this track. It's very clean. It's very poppy. There's not a lot of heavy metal aspects to it. It's just very soft, radio-friendly pop music. Very easy to listen to, but I think that's also extremely intentional. I like the production. I like the production of Satan's Prayer. I feel like it's very well balanced. I like the hook of the song too. Hear Our Satan Prayer. It definitely is something that you can dance to. It really is like happy satanic music. I said this in my full album reaction, which is on Patreon at tier 2 for $5. Just plugging it if you're interested. I mentioned in that reaction that it was like Halloween on the beach in summertime. Feel good vibes. Track 7, Death Knell, is a song that I was having some trouble connecting with in my reaction. Now, I do, however, really enjoy that this song starts out with a drum and then bass instrumental to bring you into the track. And I also like that there's a church bell used. And that is something that Tobias does really, really well throughout this record. He's really good at making each song sound different when they're being introduced in the lineup, in the track list. There's a lot of diversity within this album instrumentally. Death Knell is still very catchy and it gets stuck in my head, but I just don't know how to feel about it, mostly because of the chorus. It just kind of irks me and makes my skin itch, but it gets stuck in my head. The death knell sounds flat. Sometimes his voice can be a little too nasally for my own personal taste, and he really overpronounces his his ERs throughout this record. But he's very good at enunciating his words. And I think that the overpronunciation of his is just his like singing accent. And I do the same thing as well in my songs now with this kind of, which I sing like southern rock kind of country stuff, so I do add this kind of twang to it because that's how I want it to sound. And so I think I'm interpreting that style as that's what Tobias is also doing. I think the reason why the chorus really irks me too is because Tobias's highs are so thin in comparison to his head voice, and this is something you can really hear in Death Knell. His high notes are very, like I said, thin and airy, and you can actually hear it being kind of caught here and being stuck here instead of being projected out. I wish that he could project those notes more and make them just shoot out more forward, because it would add a lot more intensity to the songs and make it, I don't know, it's just not hitting right for me. Prime Mover, which is track 8, has a guitar riff that begins the song, which is again just another example of Tobias having diversity with each of these tracks. So because that guitar riff starts this song, it's really nice coming out of Death Knell. I thought the transition was great. Chorus is definitely nicely highlighted in the song. However, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I do think that this is like the weakest song on the record. Fighting for the Bottom with Death Knell. That also being said, this song I can clearly sing in my head, like Prime Mover. Like if there's one thing that freaking Ghost Tobias is really good at, it's having these catchy little earworm songs. And there's plenty of lyrics and melodies throughout this that I just can instantly sing. So on his part, he's doing something right. There's a great instrumental beginning and fade up with the song Genesis, which is the last track on this record, and it's actually the second instrumental that closes out the record. Genesis has a very Journey style opening. It reminds me a lot of their song Separate Ways. I love that the instrumental track is also what closes out the album, because I feel like for the time of this record in 2010, and for Ghost being kind of more of a mainstream gimmicky metal band, we just don't see that too often. I just really love this instrumental track. I really connected with it. I thought the acoustic guitar was beautiful. It was very down to earth and kind of had this like happy tropical ending. And I mentioned in my reaction that it's like that vacation scene that you see at all the endings of like action movies and superhero movies or whatever, where they're on the beach and they've got this giant margarita and they're walking into the sunset and whatever.
I speak to you, please. I asked for Mai Tai and they brought me a pina colada, and I said no salt for the margarita, but it had salt on it.
Lo siento
There's
mucho,
big grains
señor.
of salt on it. Lo siento, but it happens again. I won't be leaving a tip.
And it's like a good happy ending. That's the vibe that I got with Genesis. It fades too, which is really nice because it leaves you on a cliffhanger. It leaves you wanting more, and it comforts you. It comforts you, and then it leaves you. So instantly when that ended, I was like, wait, wait, I want more, you know? And that's what you want with a record like this. You want to be able to have audible storytelling. And I've mentioned it multiple times in this. That's what he's really, really good at. Diversity with the tracks, making each song different. Now, the history of Ghost is quite interesting, especially because in retrospect, they are still quite new to the scene, even though 2010 was like 13 years ago at the time that I'm filming this video. Ghost is known for wearing almost identical face-concealing costumes, with each member being known as a nameless ghoul. Tobias also concealed his identity for several years after the release of Opus Eponymous, bearing Papa Emeritus as a demonic anti-pope. I thought this was really cool. I mean, regardless of what you think about Ghost, there's something very interesting about this band dynamic, this band sound. During 2006, when Ghost was formed, Tobias wrote the song Stand By Him, and he had this to say about it. I said that this is probably the most heavy metal riff that has ever existed. When the chorus came to me, it haunted my dreams. Every time I picked up the guitar, I ended up playing that progression. And when I fit the words in, it seemed to cry out for a satanically oriented lyric. Tobias then got together with Gustav Lindstrom, the bass player that did most of the bass work off of this record, to record 3 songs, which included Death Knell, Stand By Him, and Prime Mover. Now, this is what I think is really interesting. Tobias later told Lindstrom that these songs didn't sound like they would come from 2 dudes that look like them. So they decided to be an anonymous theater band and use their love of horror films and the traditions of Scandinavian metal in the band's imagery. What I also think is interesting too is that Tobias originally didn't want to be the lead singer of the band. He actually wanted to be a guitar player, and even though he offered up that position to multiple different people, they all declined until he just like became their lead singer. In true 2010 fashion, Ghost posted these 3 recorded songs onto MySpace, of all places, in March of 2010. And within 2 days, 48 freaking hours, they were contacted by record labels and managers wanting to work with them. Can you imagine that? 2 days. That is just like crazy to me. That's the beauty of the internet, dude. In June of 2010, they would release Elizabeth as their first single and be nominated for their first Grammy Award in 2011 for Best Hard Rock Album. Again, insane. You post to MySpace, and within 1 year, you've got a record label, you've got fans, and you've got a Grammy nomination. That's like every artist's wet dream, like not even kidding. The success of Ghost's first record is obvious, and it's quite admirable that a band such as this was able to garner the attention of record labels within 48 hours and be nominated for a Grammy in just 1 year after posting their tracks to MySpace. I think that's honestly the beauty of the internet these days. I think the reason why Ghost is such a mainstream band and has done so well is because it's a black metal, heavy metal, death metal band that plays pop music. The lyrics are satanic, the imagery is kind of heavy metal, symphonic metal, and the corpse paint is very black metal, but the sound is nothing like those things. It's very radio friendly pop metal-ish. The songs are catchy and fun to listen to. They're easy to sing along to, but it still has this like darker side to it. Exactly like Scooby-Doo metal. Halloween in the summertime. You still get that satanic vibe in the pop music. Overall, I give this record a solid 5.5 out of 10. The reason being is because I just personally don't see myself revisiting this record unless I want to revisit Genesis or Ritual, the tracks I really connected with off this record, or to really quench the thirst of some of these songs just being so catchy. Personally, I don't really know how to feel about this record or band. I guess I just don't understand the appeal, but I do at the same time. I personally just can't get past Tobias's voice. I just think it's not super great and it's not very memorable in my opinion, and that's probably why Genesis, the instrumental track, is my favorite track off of this record. Again, I feel like Tobias's voice is just flat. His high notes are just not very strong, and I want him to belt out more. I want him to give those notes more energy because they need it. These songs they need more energy. They need more energy. They need more grit and more power in the vocals, and he's just not delivering it for me in those high notes. It comes across as very soft, and the music itself is very, like I said, pop music. It's pop. I definitely wouldn't call Ghost heavy metal. I wouldn't call them symphonic metal. I don't even think they really have anything in metal, honestly. If anything, I would say they're more like pop rock, occult rock, and arena rock. I know they're already labeled as these, but I wouldn't call them heavy metal. I wouldn't put them anywhere even close to metal. Doing my research, I noticed a lot of people too compare Ghost to King Diamond and say that Tobias is copying King Diamond's aesthetic. And I definitely think that Tobias gets a lot of inspiration from King Diamond, but then again, who doesn't and who didn't get inspiration from King Diamond? I mean, he's the king. He's as influential as ever. Like, he inspired a lot of people. But I don't think that Tobias is copying him. There's elements that are similar, yes, but I think most people are just taking that because of the corpse paint. Well, if you're going to do that kind of comparison, then you could say he's copying Abbott. Like, it's corpse paint, whatever. There's elements that are similar, but Ghost to me is like Mushroom Head and Slipknot in terms of theatricality in comparison to King Diamond. It also, like, King Diamond's music is much heavier than Ghost. Like, it is much heavier, it is much more intense, it has a lot more grit, a lot more energy, and he just has a lot more power, and like, King Diamond is true heavy metal. Ghost is not. And that's not to say that, they're not both extremely popular and mainstream, although I would say Ghost is mainstream and King Diamond is still borderline underground, you could say, because I don't think a lot of people know who King Diamond is, just like how a lot of people don't know who Death is. Even though Ghost's music may not be for me, I do see the appeal of it. I do see why people might find it interesting, because it is interesting. It's a weird band. It's a weird mishmash of all these different things, and Tobias succeeded in creating a very successful brand and sound that's different, and a lot of people really enjoy it, and a lot of people love this band, and I think it's because it's also, like I said, radio friendly. It's something that can kind of promote this Satanism, this kind of, you know, taking bits of the satanic lyricism that's in metal and making it pop, you know, making it easier to digest for the masses. And that's why I think that they're as popular as they are. It's satanic pop music. As always, though, this is just my opinion, so I highly encourage you to listen to this record if you haven't already and form your own opinion. Now, if you have listened to this record, let me know down below in the comments what you thought about it. What would you rate this album? What are your thoughts on Ghost and Tobias as a whole? I would love to hear your thoughts. If you've seen Ghost live, what was that experience like? And do you agree or disagree with the points that I made today? Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, you guys.